Intellectually petty radio on your stereo. Don't compare us to anything, this a different scenario. We break records while we pushing the culture forward. Great music and big vibes right in that order. Intellectually petty radio on the stereo. Don't compare us to anything, this a different scenario. We break records while we pushing the culture forward. Great music and big vibes right in that order.
And you are now tuned into another episode of Intellectually Petty Radio, brought to you in conjunction with A Beautiful Machine magazine, as well as the mighty Nerd DJs Radio Network. Y'all already know, man, week after week, day after day, year after year, we only rock with legends around here. And today, as always, is absolutely no motherfucking exception. Today, we have a comedian extraordinaire. He does over 30 impersonations. He's also the executioner at the Apollo Theater. One of the funniest people to ever have 2 feet. My man, Mr. CP Lacey. How you doing, King?
Oh, no, sorry, you caught me in the middle of my reading. Hey, everybody, that was a very nice introduction. Thank you so much. And I think it's pretty apropos that I'm on this platform. I want to say thank you for having me on the platform. Hello, everybody around the world who's watching. And it's pretty apropos for me to be on here because I'm pretty much a petty type of person.
All right, what's the pettiest thing you ever done?
Took this show on as my manager, asked me if I'd do it.
Yeah. So how long have you matter of fact, do you remember the first joke where you knew, okay, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life?
That's a great question because I don't even have the answer to it. I do have the answer to how I became a celebrity impersonator, but that's an awesome question. No one has even asked me. I like your hosting skills. Wait a minute. Let me just try to see if I can remember that.
Okay.
First joke. And I said, I guess it was, because I was the class clown. I don't remember the joke, but I know that when I said something or did something stupid in class and everybody erupted in laughter, that's when I knew. That's basically when I knew. I can't tell you the joke it was, but it was probably, why did the chicken cross the road? Because my grandmother was chasing him with 11 different herbs and spices. I don't know what the joke was.
Okay, so who was the first impersonation you did?
The first impersonation I did was the Godfather of Soul. James Brown, brother, look at him. I saw him on the Dick Clark show, and I said, Mama, one of these days I'm going to be in the television just like that. I was like, 5 years old or something. I saw James Brown on television, and I knew that's my destiny.
Damn, that's great. Man, I love James Brown. What's A Man's World? I think that's my favorite joint. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a good song. That's a great song.
Love. James Brown is so underrated as a businessman too. He does not get the credit that he deserves.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, those who know. If you don't know how incredible James Brown was, you don't supposed to know.
Oh my God, man! Rest in peace to that guy. All right, so most people, well, I won't say most people, but people that are fans of the Apollo will know you as the executioner. How long did you say you've been doing that?
I've been doing it for 37 years. Yeah. It's you got time for a little story how I got the gig?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I was performing at the world famous Apollo Theater, and I just kept winning week after week doing my James Brown impersonation, and I won like seven weeks in a row. And the host of the show, the creator of the show, Mr. Ralph Cooper Senior, rest in peace. He said to me in 1980 something, there was a film called Taps with all the Hoofers, Gregory Hines, Sandman Sims, Sammy Davis, all the Hoofers was in this movie. And Ralph Cooper came to me and said, well, Sandman Sims is going away to Hollywood to film this movie. And I like your James Brown footwork. Do you tap? And for you people who are in show business, if anyone a director or a casting director asks you, do you do something like scuba dive? The answer is always yes. I've never had a pair of tap shoes on in my life, but I told him, yes, I tap. So I bought me a pair of tap shoes and went in to fill in for Sandman Sims. I was, clickety, clickety, clackety, messing up all over the place, but my showman skills saved me. And that 3-week substitution for Sandman Sims turned into 37 years.
Okay, so basically, somebody gets booed off, you're the one that comes and get them off the stage, correct?
Yes. Well, and people wonder, is it me who decides who get booed? No, the producer of the show clicks the siren. That's when my cue is to come out and get them out of there.
Do you ever feel bad, or you ever feel like the producer got it wrong?
No, because the audience, the world famous Apollo Theater audience, is the barometer. When the boos get to a certain decibel, producer has to hit the switch. It's not like he says, I don't like this guy's pants. Click. No, the audience determines who stays and who leaves the stage.
What do you enjoy most about comedy as opposed to the Apollo?
They're kind of one and the same, if that's a good enough answer to the question, because a laugh is a laugh.
Okay.
I get laughs as the executioner, and I get laughs as a standout comedian in clubs and arenas. So a laugh is a laugh. So it doesn't differentiate. Any comedian, I believe, will tell you that a laugh is a laugh.
And you've been all over the world. You've been on the Chappelle Show.
Yes.
Tell me about that. How did that come to be?
Well, I know Dave. Dave and I go back like a spinal cord. There was a time back in I believe the 90s, when Dave was like 14 years old, just starting in comedy clubs. He moved to New York. He'll tell you that in his comedy routines. And I was a street performer at the time, doing my James Brown, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson in Washington Square Park in New York City. And Dave was a newcomer on the block, and he used to say, CP, can I borrow your amplifier and your mic so I can tell a few jokes? And I'm like, yo, you got to pay me for that. So he used to give me like $6 or whatever. And he'd tell his jokes and leave with bags of money. And I only charged him like $6. So when he got his show, eventually I went and said, yo, Dave, I'd like to be on the show. Audition right quick. Boom, there I was. But it happened to be the archives, because that was the same year when he, quote unquote, went crazy and went to Africa. Of course, that's a totally different story. The man never went crazy, but that's a story for you and I after the cameras aren't rolling.
Oh, hell, I don't believe it either.
No.
And these folks out there can listen if they want. We know what the real deal is. Anyway, so what else have you been able to, like, what's a high point and a low point?
In comedy or just in show business?
In show business.
Well, I haven't reached that low point, and I don't intend to. But the low point for any performer is when the phone stops ringing. Now, it may start to ring again if you do something and go viral or something like that, and the promoters start calling you again. But any performer will tell you when the phone stops ringing, it's time to either hang up the tap shoes or reinvent yourself. And the high point is when you do something, I'm using today's terms, that would go viral. Now you're hot again. Everybody wants you. You're in demand. That's a high point. But you have to watch that. I tell all my acting students, I teach acting, I tell all my students, don't read the reviews. Don't read your reviews, because you'll start to believe the reviews. And if you believe the positive, you'll also begin to believe the negative. So you can't go by that. Be yourself and just keep pushing forward. And I tell them, they're my babies. I love them. Bless their hearts. That's what I tell them. Just keep pushing forward, and the high points will come. They always do. God didn't give you the talent for
as an actor or actress. How do you tap into the sadder emotions?
I don't hear you anymore, so I'm just going to keep on talking.
Hello?
There was a time when I
Can
used
you
to
hear me now?
dance. There was a day when I used to prance, but dig me now, baby. Ha!
Hello?
Don't worry about later. There's a dance that I used to do. They called potato. Hey,
Hey, can you hear me though?
I now hear you. You just jumped back in.
Oh, okay. My
I
apologies.
was I was dazzling your audience with impromptu.
I didn't really. You know what? I started using my phone to record as opposed to my camera, and even though I like it better, I'm still learning some of it. I didn't realize I can't switch basically the screen.
Okay, yeah. As a 14-year-old, they really got this new device stuff
Oh
down.
my God, man! Technology be kicking my. It was kicking my ass when I was young.
Oh,
Now it's just torturing me.
yeah. Well. Funny you should say that because AI. I cannot believe. I do not choose to believe anything I see online anymore with the advent of AI. Once I saw the dogs doing high dives on the diving board, that does it for me. I don't believe anything else I'm going to see. I don't care who says it, the president, the governor, anybody. AI, they can just formulate anything and put it on, and people will believe it. So crazy
Yeah,
world.
people are like right now because it's new and it's funny. People are in love with it. Shit ain't
Hmm.
gonna be funny in 20 years when you literally don't know if that's your neighbor
Absolutely
or not.
right.
It what's as far as technology is concerned, what's been the best advancement as far as your career is concerned?
Uh, I'd have to say to date, because I play all the instruments in my shows that I do. The music in the background that you hear is me. I produce it in my studio. And
Mhm.
when I first started, there was a thing you young folks won't remember or recall or even imagine called a reel to reel. I used to do all of my music analog. And the greatest advent was something called quantization, where you don't have to be precise on the beat. The
Mhm.
machines will put you on the beat automatically now. So if a guitar plays a funny lick out of beat, not out of tune, I don't play out of tune. If it plays out of beat, the quantize will throw it into the spectrum. So my music sounds a lot more crisp now than before. I don't claim to be a um, astute bass player, guitar player, drummer, keyboard player, but I do well enough to produce my own music. I mean, I wouldn't get on the Apollo stage and be part of the Apollo band. I'm not that good, but my music is great because of the advent of technology. Yeah.
Yeah, hell, you can sing now. I mean, well, doing all those impersonations, from what I've seen, the comedians that can do a lot of impersonations also can sing. Is that true with you?
Oh yeah. I was a singer before I was an impersonator. I was going up for all the Broadway show auditions, and
Hmm.
they would never hire a newcomer on Broadway. And the older I get, the more I understand the business of Broadway. They're not going to hire some new guy just because he can sing, because those elite darlings out in Long Island, I don't know where you're located, but the most of the Broadway people who come to New York come from around the world, and they come from Long Island, New York. And they're not going to spend 50, 60, 70, 100, $200 to come and see some no-name guy on the Broadway stage, which is the reason why Broadway doesn't hire newcomers. You're going to hire the same people who've been making bank for them over and over,
Yeah.
which is the
Kind
reason
of,
why I started doing impersonations. I said, "Oh, you're going to hire the same actors over and over again. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start acting like those performers, and maybe I can get a foot in the door."
has anybody been mad that you impersonated them?
Let's see. Um, no, not so far. I mean, um, I did something that backfired. I won't tell you which character it was. I did something for a company, uh, and the company didn't tell me that what the background story for that project was, and it put one of my celebrity characters in a bad lighting. and a bad lighting where the original person would have said, CP, I don't condone that what you just did.
Yeah.
So now my contract states I have to see exactly the finished product of what I'm getting myself involved with, because I don't want any of these people mad at me. First of all, because I wouldn't want anybody put my name in a bad light, my brand out there, in something like that the public or his brand wouldn't associate itself with.
Understood.
So yeah, I have to see the finished product of whatever I'm getting involved with these days.
You've also been in plays too, correct?
Yeah. I've been in plays. I've written plays. In fact, I'm writing a one-man show. I've written a one-man show now, which is going to be launched in New York City, hopefully by fall. Yeah.
How difficult is that to do the whole show by yourself, though?
I can't say how difficult it is because I haven't done it yet. In theory, it sounds like, and it looks like on paper, it looks like, oh, I can do this. But once the curtain goes up and I have to do at least 30 characters on stage within a 2-hour period with a little intermission, I don't know how many nights in a row I could do that. I'll probably do Friday and Saturday, maybe Sunday, and rest, the rest of the week. But I'm pretty energetic guy. I've been doing this forever, so I don't get tired. I can do an hour. I know I can do an hour show without, showing that I'm tired. Yeah.
So I've been to plays before, and I know for a fact that you can hear people in the audience. How do you not let that bother you? And not that they're saying anything bad or anything, but just people having a conversation that's a little too loud.
Oh, I've something. I'm glad you said that, because I don't want to be the one to brag and say this, but when CP Lacey hits the stage, they are quiet. I've seen comedians, I've seen singers, I've seen dancers, I've seen poets, I've seen magicians. In the industry, we call that losing the room. You're losing the room. You're losing the room because people are actually talking while you're performing.
Yeah.
I've never had that experience. I thank God so much that my creativity, my talent, and my wit and my comedy is to the extent that from the curtain going up, they are engaged in what I'm doing. I've never had people talking while I'm performing. And I thank God so much for that. That was a great question. And I feel bad for comedians or people. In fact, I don't feel bad for them. If a person is talking in your audience, that means you're not doing something right. Shame on you. Go back to the woodshed and get your act right. Shame on you.
Oh shit, I got booed before horribly.
Well, it might have been something you're new at. But if these comedians out here who've been at it for 10, 15 years and they still get people talking in the audience, how old were you in the game when you got booed?
I wasn't doing comedy. I was a rapper at the time. And I had worked on doing this one song, and the producers of the show loved this song, and I had to drive from Cleveland to Detroit for the performance. And the guy that was supposed to do my live mix fucked it up.
Oh yeah, that's bad. I had that experience before. Yeah.
And I didn't have any time to get it fixed, so I had to kind of like go with another song, and it did not go well. That's just
yeah.
It was horrible.
And that doesn't sound like you're putting the blame somewhere else. The blame did go somewhere else. The guy I had a rock and roll guy, but through bad management, said, "Let my friend mix your song for you." It was an R&B record. And I let a rock and roll mixer mix the song for me. And they can't. His ear is not R&B. Like the guy who mixed yours, his ear wasn't hip hop or rap. I don't know where his ear was, but yeah. And that doesn't sound like you're putting the blame on somebody else. You did your part vocally. It's just that the track was whack.
Yeah, well, I chose it. Now I made a song out of it. So
yeah, well,
I got to take some blame somewhere.
plus you were already there. So might as well do it. And I would tell people also, if you're going to go from one region to another, I'd go a day in advance and see what the culture is like, so I could say something like, if I'm in New York and I'm telling, yeah, I got on the D train and man, it was cool. It was cool. I jumped right over the turnstile and just went to my gig. Pop, pop, pop. Now I can't go to California and tell that joke because they don't know what a D train is. You know what I mean? So I would have gone from Cleveland to Detroit, find out what the culture is. So my opening statement would have let them know, I see you. And maybe they might have been a little bit more relaxed on you as far as booing you. Well, at least he see us. But I'm sorry. Boo, boo.
So you, like I said earlier, you've traveled everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
What's a city that just does it for you? And I don't mean professionally, but just a city where you feel the most peace and the most love.
That's an easy one. Yokohama, Japan. Yokohama. Yeah. It's so tranquil there. The people are nice. They speak the language. Even though they speak the language, you're in a mystical land, when no one looks like you. And it's like a mystery surrounding, but everybody's nice. Everybody treats you well. And the streets are immaculate. It's not like Dubai where you'll get a ticket if you spit on the street, but no one spits on the street or throw garbage on the street. That's just the culture. They don't have to tell you you'll get a ticket if you spit on the street, because they just don't. But then again, you kind of miss the spit on the street for a while. I wouldn't stay there, but that's my spot. That's my go-to spot. I need to come back to the Bronx. I need to see a car on fire every now and then. You know what I mean?
Yo, it's something about the rudeness and the selfishness of New Yorkers that's exotic.
Yeah.
Like, I like the fact that people will bump into you, because that means that I too can bump back and people won't be offended.
There you go. Yeah. Keep it moving. Keep it pushing. Don't be looking up in the sky, walking around like Barney Fife.
Oh my God. Yo, if you're an asshole and you embrace your assholeness, New York is the perfect place for you.
Yeah,
although it's got some wonderfully nice people too, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah. People are generally nice. If you move like you belong, but if you walking around, like a tourist and just acting like I don't belong here, but I'm here, then you get the flavor. You'll get the flavor.
And you say you're from the Bronx?
No, I'm not from the Bronx. I'm from BK. I'm from Brooklyn.
You're from Brooklyn?
But I live in Pennsylvania now. Yeah, my nephews hate it here. They say, "Unc, I don't like where you live." I'm out in the burbs. I don't like where you live. I don't hear any sirens. I don't hear no gunshots. What's going on out there where you live? I'll say
so at what point did you leave New York for Pennsylvania? Because what I really want to know is like what were the 80s like in Brooklyn?
The 80s was crazy. The 80s were crazy. I tell this joke in my stand-up. Back in the 80s, I would tell this joke. It's not relevant now. But 80s, you didn't have to touch the sidewalk on your way to the subway to work. You could just roll to the subway on crack vials.
That's fucked up, bro.
Yeah. I mean, crack was the epidemic. But the thing I loved about the 80s in Brooklyn, and this was in tandem with the entire country. The styles, the fashions of the 80s was great. And at that time, I would just let my creative fashionista just run wild until the 90s came, and I was still dressing like a maniac, the 80s wild stuff, the pastel colors and everything. And then before my wife came on the scene, my girlfriend, who changed my life, she said, if you don't stop dressing like an English punk rocker, it's over. So off went the buckles and the belts and the bracelets, and I never had any piercings or tattoos, but I dressed like the way I felt back in the 80s. I loved it. That's another great question. Yeah.
I wore a pair of parachute pants back in the 80s.
Man, you better touch me.
And that just Actually, that's the most embarrassing shit I've ever worn. And not only did I wear parachute pants, I had some karate shoes with it.
Okay, see,
Oh,
yeah. You went the whole road. There was a few people
yeah.
who liked your style. A few people was looking at you, but
Thank God that was only like one semester of school for that fuckery because that was horrible.
yeah.
But that was my breakdancing era. Like you couldn't tell me.
I had the whole parachute suit. I remember it was the most I've ever paid after I started getting famous, and people were taking my picture a lot. I went to a store. Actually, the store was called Parachute. They had the jacket, the vest. It was all raw silk. It was the jacket, the vest, and the parachute pants. And I pulled so many honeys with that outfit. It was like,
That's horrible.
yeah, that parachute pants, parachute pants. Yeah. I didn't top it off with the karate shoes,
Yeah, that was nasty work back then.
Yeah. That was a mess.
Okay, so here's a question I ask everybody that comes on the show. Has absolutely nothing to do with anything, but here goes. You're sitting on a park bench and God sits down next to you and he or she says you can ask them one question. What would it be?
Am I serving you the right way, or am I listening to charlatans?
Well, that's some real shit right there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a perfect joke, and what comedian outside of yourself comes as close as possible to a perfect comedian?
I'd have to say, I'm going to give you two. I'm going to say perfect and most clever. I think the perfect comedian, in my estimation, a lot of people are probably going to hate me for this. I'm a bit of a historian, and I would say the perfect comedian is Richard Pryor, and the most clever comedian is a guy from the old vaudeville days named Milton Berle, who said, yes. Milton Berle said, you have to have a person laughing every 9 to 10 seconds. These guys who tell these long stories and get to the punchline, and the punchline, everybody's laughing all over the place. That's good. That's fine. That's well and everything. But your stories have to be every 9 seconds. You're laughing at something I'm saying. I don't have to wait 3 minutes to get a laugh. But Richard Pryor, that's why I said he's the perfect comedian. Every 9, 10 seconds, you were laughing at something he said. It's not like he would set up a joke, get to the middle, and then bam, hit you with the punchline. Now you're laughing. While he was setting up the joke, you're laughing. In the middle of the joke, you're laughing. And the punchline, you're on the floor.
Ryan Davis reminds me a little bit of that. Like because he can have some really kind of long jokes, but there are so many funny stops along the way that it doesn't feel like a long
cut
joke.
Out again. I don't know where you are, so I'm going to use this.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I think somebody called you that time. Somebody called you or texted you. Sometimes it'll break shit up.
Well, okay, I don't think anybody. Either way,
probably mine.
Ryan Davis.
He reminds me of Richard Pryor in that the setups are phenomenal, and he can have a longer joke per se. But just like Richard Pryor, like you're saying, like there's stops. There's a little stop every little piece along the way that makes you laugh.
Yeah.
At what point? Because it's early on, like in Milton Berle's days, and I think that he wasn't the only one. I think that was kind of like the standard for comedians, is that you had to have punchline. There was a few that would throw a story in there, but generally speaking, it was rapid fire, and you had to be funny all the time.
Yes, because there was so much detriment going on in the 40s and the 30s, I guess. They were just coming out of World War II or just going into it or whatever, and people needed to laugh a lot. They needed to laugh a lot to keep their mind off of what was going on. I mean, because if you leave your mind idle back those days for a minute or two, you'd go into what was going on. So they had to keep their minds occupied with laughter.
So what year did you first start out professionally?
I'd say 1984. 1984.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
definitely Run DMC days.
Yeah. I was working at a prestigious law firm, and I went out to lunch to smoke a cigarette, and I went to 42nd Street in Times Square. There was a group of guys, 3 guys on the street singing and dancing. There was a guy in the front of the group, lead singer guy. His name was Jesse D. The name of the group was the Force MCs at the time, who changed their name after their first record to a group called the Force MDs. You might remember them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Force MDs. Jesse D was the lead singer. He was a Michael Jackson impersonator on the streets. And I saw them on my lunch hour, and they were collecting money. And I said, wow, they've been here for like 3 songs. It looks like they made something like about $80 with the crowd around them. So what I did was I went back to work from lunch, went home that night. But before I went home, I went and bought me a Michael Jackson wig, a Stevie Wonder wig, and a James Brown wig. I came back to work the next day, cut off my work pants into high waters like Michael's. And at lunchtime, I went to Central Park. I didn't go to 42nd. I didn't want to be their competition. I went to Central Park and started singing my songs. I had my big boom box playing my music. And within about 10 minutes, the cops had to stop me because I was a traffic nuisance. People were crowded around, spilling out into 59th Street in Columbus Circle. The cops stopped me because they said, you're a traffic nuisance. We can't have this. Must have been like 500 people around me. And in those 10 minutes, I must have collected like $200 odd. And I went back to my work after lunch and told them I will not be coming back.
Yo, that's crazy.
I will not, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah. Oh my God. So how do you choose a manager?
I'm sorry?
How did you choose your manager?
I was doing it myself for a while, calling up people. Hi, my name is Eddie Schwartz. We have CP Lacey. I was doing that kind of stuff and getting gigs until I did that for almost 86, almost 10 years. And then I got married. My wife became my manager. Yeah. We butted heads, man, because, and any person in the industry will tell you, I believe, after doing it all yourself, wearing all the hats, and then now you have to pass the rings over to somebody else to run your career, your life, all your daily routines. That's hard to do. My wife and I used to butt heads all the time because even though she was always right, I just didn't want to let go of the rings. But it was to my detriment. Every time she picked up the rings, ching, 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 ching. So, yeah, I didn't choose my manager. My manager chose me.
Are you still married to her?
Oh, yeah. You kidding me? Didn't you hear me say ching, ching?
Man has made mistakes before.
Mm-hmm.
When did you know that she was the one?
When she wouldn't give it up. When she wouldn't give it up. Because every man is looking for that quote unquote good girl. And being in show business, most show business people, if they're worth their salt, are used to say, yo, shorty, come here, let me holler at you for a minute. Okay, it's so crazy. I said, yo, shorty, come over, let me holler at you. This is my wife. Said, yo, you ready to give it up? It's over. What do you think I am? It's over. I said, that's my wife right there.
How'd you ask? I'm a hopeless romantic, so I'm sorry if I'm prying too much. But how'd you ask?
For some, or to get married?
No, to get married, man. I'm not about to get that done. Your wife is not about to be coming after me. Shit, I'm not that dumb. You're about to get me hurt.
Okay, well, I don't know. Okay, here you go. You're the one who had on the karate shoes. All right. Okay. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was December. That's 1, 2, the 12th month. It was the third of no, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 adds in there somewhere. She'll remember. Guys don't remember that kind of stuff. But it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we were at a diner that's torn down now. I wish it was still standing. I got on one knee, 5 o'clock in the morning. The diner had like maybe 3 people in there. It was a truck stop kind of place. I was coming from visiting her grandmother. We stopped there, and I got on one knee and pulled out the ring and asked her if she, share the rest of her life with me. And she said, yeah. And the little 3 truck drivers started clapping. The waitress started clinging glasses and everything. It was very romantic. Yeah. Yeah.
I've sat next to like a couple one time, and they had just gotten married, but I guess they had went to the courthouse. And me and my ex were the first people that they told that they got married.
Yeah, that's exciting.
It's amazing. That's what I'm saying. The people that were there with you, like, they're probably still telling that story about how they saw you ask her to marry you.
Yeah. That, and I didn't intend to do it that way. It's just that this is a good moment, a good time, because I had the ring with me all the time. I had it with me, and it was great. It was great. I showed it to I was still a street performer at the time, and I showed it to the 300, 400 people that was around me in Washington Square. I said, I'm going to get married. Look at this. Blah, 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 blah. I said, CP, you're a maniac. You're in the middle of New York showing 1.5 carat diamond ring in the middle of the park.
Yeah, that ain't right, bro.
But, I wasn't worried about that because I was a staple in Washington Square at the time. If anybody looked at me sideways, everybody would have jumped on them. That's one thing about the performers in Washington Square Park. They didn't have to worry about leaving the park with all the money that they made that day. And I'm not bragging or anything, but I was walking away with $5 a day. And a lot of the performers who were worth their salt were walking away with more than that. There was a guy named Charlie Barnett. A lot of you guys don't know who Charlie Barnett is. He's the funniest comedian you'll ever want to meet. And I'll tell you a quick story. Charlie Barnett was the funniest guy you'd ever want to meet. His claim to fame is a movie called DC Cab back in the 80s. And Lorne Michaels saw that movie and hired him right on the spot for Saturday Night Live. They got him into Saturday Night Live, and most things are rehearsed, but they're always reading cue cards on Saturday Night Live. There's no off book. They're reading cue cards, and Charlie couldn't read. He was illiterate. And Lorne Michaels was like, get somebody on the phone. We go up in like 4 or 5 hours, and what are we gonna do here? And so one of the texts, I know this young comedian out in Long Island, a guy named what's his name again, Drew? Eddie Murphy. Get him on the phone. That's how Eddie got the job, because Charlie couldn't read.
Yo,
Life is funny, isn't it?
Never heard that before.
Yeah. Now that's the understanding that I have. Eddie might say, man, that nigga don't know what he's talking about, and I ain't get no job because Eddie can't read.
Well, it can be twofold, because Eddie Murphy
told me
a funny dude.
Charlie told me from his mouth. So it's not like I heard this somewhere. Charlie told me, I didn't get the gig. I said, like, Charlie, how you doing on Saturday Night Live? I didn't get the gig, man. I can't read.
Oh, that's damn.
Yeah.
That is a testament to preparation, unfortunately.
Yeah. So kids, you can hang on the street all you want to with your friends and everything, but I'm going to tell you right now, as James Brown said, without an education, you might as well be dead.
Is there a no that you regret? Like somebody offered you a gig or a movie or whatnot, and you said no, and then looking back, you feel like I should have did that.
Dave Chappelle, when we were doing street performing, Dave said, CP, there's the Aspen Comedy Festival in Aspen, Colorado. I'm going to do my comedy, man. You should come because your characters, and nobody was doing impersonations back in the 80s. A few people were, but you didn't have people doing it at the level that I was doing it.
Mhm.
And I said, nah, Dave, you go ahead. Let me know when you come back, because even though I'm doing all these characters, they're beloved by white people. I don't even know why you going, because the Aspen Comedy Festival is mostly white folks, man. They're not gonna, gravitate to your comedy. I'm saying this to myself. I didn't say that to him. I would never kill someone else's dreams. So he left, went to Aspen, and he stayed there, I think, 3 days for the comedy festival. On the way back, he called me from the airport and said, CP, I did 2 days over here, and guess what, man? I'm going to be in a movie called Robin Hood Men in Tights, and something called Air Force or Airport or something like that. Air something. And next thing I know, there was Dave Chappelle, Robin Hood Men in Tights. And that other prison picture with these prisoners on an airplane, I forgot the name of it. Yeah.
The one with Con Air.
Yes. Con Air, yeah. He got both of those at the Aspen Comedy Festival. And I said, I should have went. I should have went. I mean, I might not have gotten those movies, but you had people who could move and shake at those things.
Yeah.
I didn't know about movers and shakers going to those kind of festivals then. I just thought it was people having fun laughing. And you can't do anything for my career. It was just a festival. Yeah, he sure did. But God bless.
So is that something that you pass on to the next generation?
Is there something like words of wisdom?
Well, yeah.
I always tell people in the industry, don't do it for the money. Do it for the love of your craft. And if you do it for the love of your craft, most cases, the money will come. But if you're doing it for the money, then your craft will suffer, because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Because if you do it for the love of the craft, whether the money comes or not, you're still fulfilling something inside here.
Is there a comedian now that you would pay your hard-earned money to go see?
Nah.
Really?
No.
Where did it stop for you? Where did it,
It never started. It never started because I share stages with these guys. Well, the mega guys who are up there now, we didn't come up in the same ranks. But but the guys who came up in the 90s, I shared the stage with those guys. It's like, we know each other. Why am I going to pay to see you? If anything, which I never do, is I call them and say, yo, I'm in town. Put my name on the list. But as far as paying to see, don't get me wrong, I will pay to see singers. I will pay to see concerts.
Okay, I got what you're saying.
Yeah, but I won't pay to see somebody do what I do.
Yeah, other entertainers that are not in your lane.
Yeah, I'll go see them. And I will go see other comedians if I'm in town and they're in town. And I can say my name's CP Lacey, and they know that I'm a comedian as well. Hey, CP, come on in. Pop. But to pay, no.
Career-wise, what have I left out so far? I mean, you got such an extensive career. Everybody's going to leave out something. But as far as like things that you just at the forefront of your mind, I want to make sure we touch on everything.
Well, I think you touched on everything except the fact that I have my merch. Pow! We have the CP Lacey. We have the CP Lacey fitteds. They are snapbacks, very quality, materials. And we have the CP Lacey Show T-shirts. All you have to do is hit me on the Facebook or DM me, the CP Lacey Show on Facebook or Instagram, any of that stuff. Say you want it. And once you purchase my things, you instantly become a co-producer in the show, because as you know, Jobs, producer is the person who puts up the money for a show to happen. And if you buy my merch, you're putting up money that the show can continue to happen, which makes you an automatic co-producer. And these particular hats don't have the word co-producer on it. But if you buy my material, these are just prototypes. The word co-producer is written right on the side for you. So make sure you hit Jobs or hit me up, and I can get these sent right out to you. High quality stuff. I don't sell garbage. But it's touching on something that you may not have hit. No, I think you hit everything. I will be launching my one-man stage play. It's called One in a Million, the C.P. Lacey story. And I have a novel coming out called Prone Position. It's a great novel. I can't speak too much about it right now because it's in the beta stages. A couple of people are reading it, and it's going to be out there. But keep your eyes out for the C.P. Lacey show in case I'm in a town near you. I'm very funny. I'm very funny.
Do you have a favorite impersonation that you do outside of James Brown?
My favorite, I guess, is Michael Jackson, because he transcends entertainment, he transcends race, he transcends life itself. He's from another level. I did a show a couple of weeks ago where the people were I think it's quadruple paralysis. They couldn't see, they couldn't hear, they couldn't move, they couldn't talk. They couldn't do any of those things. There was a room full of those people, and the promoter said, "Could you please come and do a show?" And I did that. I said, "Well, how are they going to enjoy it? They can't see it, they can't hear it, they can't feel it, they can't say yay, they can't do." I said, just come. For some reason, they love the idea of Michael Jackson. They play his music, and I said, "Okay, I'll do the show." After the show, I said, "Well, how do they even know I was here?" He said, "The vibrations in the floor and in the walls. They feel, that's what they feel." And C.P. Lacey, you won't believe, those people did something that they've never, ever done. We've had Elvis guys, the Beatles, this guy, that guy, but they responded to Michael Jackson in a way that they've never, ever responded in their entire lives since they've been in this facility. We could see that they were elated and they enjoyed what they were listening to. I couldn't tell, but those people who are with them on a daily could tell that there was a difference in those people. And I give God the glory for that. That just lets me know I'm not even Michael, but just being close to what he can do showed up in those paraplegics, So I can only imagine if he were there in the flesh. I'm not saying he's Jesus or God or anything like that, but
I am too petty for this story, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, well, you
How?
let me go on. You
How?
let me go on. You let me go on and on and on. With that
No. I'm fascinated by this.
Okay, yeah.
Because, like, how do you interact with these people? Like after the show?
I do not know. And I have a heart for them because Jobs, I have a heart for these people. And if you don't have a heart, if you're just trying to be showy, show businessy, people can. There was one of them. He hardly ever moves. He started, he was looking up in the sky like this, out into space, and he started doing like this, right? So I said, well, what is his name, to one of the people? And they said, that's his name was Sheldon. And I had everybody, on the count of three, Michael was singing, I forget, "Don't stop till you get enough, keep on." And on the count of three, I want everybody to do the Sheldon. 1, 2, 3. And all the workers there started doing this, started doing that. Now, if I didn't have a heart for what I had seen, they would think that I'm mocking this guy's disability. You know what I mean? Because you don't mock someone. Yeah. But the whole room, everybody was doing the Sheldon. You know what I mean? And he started smiling. I don't know. He couldn't see it. I don't know what he was feeling in those vibrations in the floor and in the walls, but it was a moment. It was great. It was great. That's why I love being in show business, because I don't only entertain them and gratify them. I get gratification as well.
Anybody ever what do they call that when they talk shit from the audience? Heckled you, but was funny?
Yeah, their first joke is funny. I mean, their first little boom, that's funny because it's out of nowhere. No one expected it. And people are saying, "Wow, you got some cojones to go up against a comedian, not just C.P. Lacey." Wow. But you have to knock them down like a bowling ball knocking down a bowling pin as soon as they come out of the gate. Because if they get a second joke in, you're done. You're done.
You ever seen a fellow comedian lose to a heckler?
I've seen comedians get uneasy at a heckler and then just instead of going toe to toe, will say to the audience, "Man, show this guy how y'all feel about what he's doing. You know, he's ruining the show for everybody. Show this guy." Boo! Then they start booing him, but he didn't come back with a snappy comeback to shut that guy's down. You know?
Yeah, he cheated.
Yeah, he cheated because he ran out of material.
Do you respect that? As you're watching this, do you lose a little respect for that comedian because they cheated and they circumvented funny to stop them?
No, I believe he used the Malcolm X method by any means necessary. He had actually run out of material, and he could sense that this guy had a basket full of one-liners waiting for him. So, yeah. So,
Sounds like it might have been a wise decision on that guy's part.
Yeah, very wise, because 3 jokes and you don't shut him down after 3 jokes. That means he's a professional heckler. Something about his persona is funny. And then if it gets to the point where he's funnier than you, now you might as well give him the mic and let him do the rest of the show.
Is there a recipe for a successful joke when you're writing one? I mean, outside of the obvious of it's got to be funny, but when you're constructing the joke?
I believe the recipe is make it as relatable as possible and universal as possible, so everybody will get it. Not that it's just going to be funny to one set of folks. In other words, if you're going to do an LGBTQ joke, they have to be laughing too.
Okay.
You don't have the room laughing at them at their expense. The joke has to be universally funny.
Okay.
Which is not an easy task, which is why comedians they despise any comedian. After I've sat up all night, 25 Heinekens to create this joke, then next week I hear you tell that joke on somebody's stage after I agonized over this funny bit of material. Now I can't even go out and do it. I'm coming on after you. I can't even do my own joke because you just told it. People get beat up behind that kind of stuff.
Really? People fight over a joke?
Are you kidding me? It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to write a funny bit. And then to have a guy who's not going to do anything but sit up and scratch his butt all night and then come up and tell your joke because he saw how much laughter you got at the funny bone. Then you're over here at the laugh sphere and he's telling your joke because he knows it's funny. Now you go on after him. You can't even tell your own joke because this knucklehead just told your joke and got a big laugh. That's why in Washington Square, anytime there were a lot of thieves because we're in the streets. There's no sanctity in the streets, but in clubs there's a little bit of sanctity. When these guys would take my jokes in the streets, anytime I hear someone taking my joke, I told the audience after I leave, ladies and gentlemen, my name is CP Lacey, and if you hear any of my jokes being told out here, I just want you to yell out my name. As soon as they tell my joke, yell out my name. So when the guy comes out and say, "Yeah, and by the way, I like the jelly," CP. They were afraid to take my jokes.
Yo, if people want to get in contact with you, they want to book you, how they go about doing that?
Very simply, it's the CP Lacey Show. The CP Lacey Show on Instagram, Facebook, Instagram. If you're old, MySpace, all the platforms, the CP Lacey Show. Okay, hit me up, and we do all kinds of gigs, weddings, bar mitzvahs, granny getting out of jail, doesn't matter. We'll be there.
Yo, if your grandmother's getting out of jail, invite me too. I need to see this.
No, she gonna be in there for a while.
I can't possibly thank you enough, bro. It's just been an honor and a privilege to chop it up with you. Yo, man, And shout out to the Apollo, shout out to every stage you've hit, every show you've worked, the whole nine, man. It's truly been a privilege, bro. Keep doing your thing, and if there's anything we can possibly do for you over this way, please let us know, and we got you.
I want to shout out the people at the world famous Apollo Theater for putting me on for these 37 odd years. And for those of you who are deciding to come to the world famous Apollo Theater for Amateur Night, last night was our last show until 2026. We're going down there having renovations done, major renovations done. So if you were thinking of coming to the world famous Apollo Theater, think again. It's going to take about 18 months for them to do what it is they're going to do. So we might be back in 2026, maybe the first half of 2027. But thank you, world famous Apollo Theater, and we will see you guys soon. And keep on watching this broadcast, because there are a lot of people who are doing it, but they're not doing it at the level that Jobs is doing it. So matter of fact, leave a comment for this show and every show that you watch. Don't be one of those people who surf and watch, get a little chuckle, get a little information, a little inspiration, and don't leave a comment. Please leave a comment. It helps them out a lot. Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. That part. Appreciate you, bro. You have a phenomenal evening on purpose, man. I'll holler at you.
Okay. Are we done? This is one of the most pettiest shows I've ever done.
Well, thank you.
Make sure to leave a comment. This is a great show.
Shit, I'm gonna take that. No doubt, bro. Have a good one.
You do the same.
That was fucking hilarious. Yo, anyway, y'all already know, man, this is Jobs. This has been another episode of Intellectually Petty Radio. I don't have my I'm using my phone. So we'll see you back next week. I think we may have somebody at 7 o'clock. I don't know. I gotta check with Rita. But if not, you already know, man. It's every Thursday, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Y'all have a good one. I'll holler at y'all. Peace.